OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody? It's Courtney here from the Outcasted OC podcast, and welcome to this Monday Night Raw review. This is a very special edition of the Monday Night Raw review because it is the Monday before Bash in Berlin. Bash in Berlin is this weekend. I am so excited. The show looks like it is shaping up to be a really great card. So let's talk about some of the go-home math for Bash in Berlin this year. So Monday Night Raw this week started off with us seeing the arrivals of Bron Breakker, American-made Braun Strowman, and Bronson Reed. They have a very highly anticipated match later on in the evening. And we also now find out that because Pat McAfee has gone to do college football, he is now obviously not on commentary. Corey Graves will be coming in and helping out Michael Cole, which actually, I don't mind this. I think this is a good pairing. Obviously, these two work together for main events like the PLEs, so this is a really good pairing. I feel like having these two together just makes a lot of sense. They work really well together when it comes to the big shows. So yeah, and then the Judgment Day make their way out. They have got new branding with all of their Titantrons and everything, which I'm like, I really want to love it, but I'm just not totally sold on this new Judgment Day. My heart still hurts from the breakup of the previous Judgment Day. Liv welcomes everybody to Monday Night Raw. More like Monday Night Ball when you're talking. No, I'm kidding. But kind of not really, though. She welcomes everybody and says, all rise for Judgment Day, which, as we know, that is a Damian Priest saying. Finn goes ahead and asks, let's remind everybody about why Judgment Day is the way they are and who we are, and they ended up showing a recap of last week how the Judgment Day beat down on the Terror Twins, and then Carlito said that was really cool. JD said that beating has been coming for a long time, and Finn says that the Terror Twins are the bad guys, and you guys got what has been coming to you, and that you betrayed the Judgment Day, and it's a preview of what you guys are going to get at Bash in Berlin. Liv says that she wants to thank Rhea because none of this would have happened if it wasn't for her, and she says, I hope that you realise that Dom and I will always be on top once we beat you. Dom is trying to cut a promo. As always, he gets booed, and he goes ahead and says that Liv does things for me that Rhea has never done, which I'm kind of like, make an interesting wrestler. I don't think she can do that, but that's okay. And then we end up hearing that Dom is actually entering himself in the Intercontinental Championship tournament that's happening. So he's not on this week's episode. He'll be featuring in a match next week. And then Ray and the LWO actually come back and they make their return. They've been gone for quite some time. Really excited to see all of them. Ray asks Dom if he's looked in the mirror lately and says that he's lost, and he said, you know, when you were with Rhea, you had some purpose. You guys had a set, but Rhea had the set of balls. And someone needs to put you in your place. He calls Dom a jackass, and then we end up seeing the LWO and the Judgment Day brawl, which we go to a commercial break. But when we come back, this sets up an 8-man tag, and I highly recommend that you watch this, not for the Judgment Day, but solely for the LWO's performance within the ring. All of these guys put on an absolute clinic. Rey Mysterio does what he does best, same with Dragon Lee, and Cruz, Del Toro, and Joaquin Wilde were just absolutely phenomenal in this match. Rey and Finn start wrestling back and forth at the beginning, but Cruz, Del Toro looks crisp, is what I've written in my notes. LWO show off their athleticism, and then we have a bunch of quick tags coming in from the Judgment Day, and then there's a moment where it looks like 3 of them are going to go for a suicide dive outside of the ring, but then the LWO quickly goes ahead and changes it, and they send Joaquin flying, which obviously we see how much length he gets on that, which is really cool to see. After the commercial break, Judgment Day overpowers the LWO, and Ray comes in and just absolutely rips Dom apart. He does a sunset flip, and then all members of the LWO go flying, which was a really cool visual because they had the camera on top of the ring, so like from an aerial bird's eye view you could see it. Ray sets up the 619, and then Liv ends up moving Dom away from Ray before the impact of the 619 hits. And actually, the 619 hit, and there was a moment where I think he was going to go for a frog splash, and then that's when Liv moves him, so my bad for getting that call wrong. And the Judgment Day end up winning this after that because Dom capitalizes, and then the Judgment Day end up assaulting the LWO at the end of the match. Rhea and Damian come out, and oh my gosh, I just felt I felt like a cathartic release when I saw Rhea just grab Liv Morgan by the back of the head. I was like, yeah, you get her, because there's a lot of aggression internally. So when I got to see Rhea just like scalp her, oh my god, felt so good. And then we end up seeing Rhea clotheslining JD, and we end up seeing Rhea hit a riptide onto JD, and Damien hits the South of Heaven. Terror Twins are looking strong going into Bash in Berlin. Personally, I think that they need to beat the Judgment Day at Bash in Berlin. So we have a couple of moments backstage, so we'll quickly go through those. Jackie Redmond is catching up with The Miz and asks how his mindset is after everything that's been happening. And he says, look, my mindset hasn't been great. I want to go ahead and right the wrongs that have been obviously happening because of Bronson. He comes in and Bronson gets mad because he has to maim Braun Strowman because of Miz. Miz basically, I think Bronson thinks that Miz called Braun to stop Bronson, but he's upset because he now has to go ahead and sort out Braun Strowman. There are so many Bronsons, Brauns, it's so hard to keep up these days, but that's fine. Xavier and Kofi are backstage. They are both in individual triple threat matches tonight for that Intercontinental Championship tournament, and they clear the air about last week, but Xavier is still referencing the fact that Kofi didn't tag him in. So there's still that seed of doubt being planted. And then Kathy Kelly's catching up with the Pure Fusion Collective before their tag match. And they talk about making an impact. They talk about Dakota being injured, Zelina being injured, Kaden and Katana all being victims of the PFC. I think that's what they're calling it, but it's okay. And then they go ahead and they say that they want to add Io and Kyrie to the list. So we go into the tag match between the Pure Fusion Collective and Damage Control. This was a shorter match, but it was very much action-packed. Io and Zoe started. Now, Michael Cole did reference their history from NXT, them being champions together, which was quite cool. Some quick tags coming in from PFC, and then after the break, Kyrie comes in hot. She hits a really nice flying forearm. A lot of teamwork coming in from the Pure Fusion Collective. And Zelina ends up attacking Sonya from behind, which was quite cool to see. Damage Control take control of the match and the distraction to secure the win. So Damage Control are one up on the PFC. That's what I like to see. Kyrie and Io are just absolutely holding down the fort while the other members of Damage Control are out, and I'm just so happy that they are still being featured on TV whilst Dakota and Asuka are away with injury. Bo Dallas cuts a promo, and it kind of shapeshifts between like Bo and Uncle Howdy. They start talking about how Chad Gable is a false prophet, and we've given you chance after chance for you to fix your behavior, but you need to remove the scales from your eyes. Now this is because they have a match happening later on in the evening. Drew McIntyre arrives to the arena, and then he ends up coming out to cut a promo. He starts talking about how it's great to be alive, and he goes, yeah, I know the whole CM Punk routine. I could go on, and then he ends up saying that, you know, I've been fighting for 8 years while CM Punk's been sitting on his ass. He actually sits down and he says, guys, like, I'm telling the truth. Punk is scared of Drew, and then he attacks me from behind. He's so scared. Every time you chant CM Punk's name, you are enabling him, and I am going to kill you, and you'll have to live with every single scar that I leave on his body. And he says, you guys want to go ahead and choose nostalgia over the warrior who has been fighting for you. And then CM Punk's music hits, and what does he do? He attacks Drew from behind. They get into a full-blown brawl. Punk ends up attacking Drew with the strap, and then we end up seeing Punk just unleashing on security. Clearly, there is no love lost between these guys. I'm really excited for this strap match. I personally think CM Punk needs to win this one so that they are one win each, and then we can have a rubber match between the two guys. I've personally, if you guys have been watching the podcast or just listening to anything that I say about these two guys, I have been enjoying this feud so incredibly much just because of the, I won't say lack of in-ring work, because that's not a thing for me. I think it's more the way that the story has been built without the need to feel like they need to wrestle every single week. I think that's what's keeping me really intrigued and really interested in this story as well. So I'm really looking forward to the strap match at Bash in Berlin. Braun Strowman cuts a promo, and then we see Jey Uso enter the arena from the top. He's hanging out with the crowd before he goes into his triple threat IC qualification match. So he is facing Karrion and Kofi Kingston. So Kofi and Jey both go after Karrion. Michael Cole references a lot of the history between these two guys from when they were in the New Day and the Usos as tag teams back in the day. Jay and Kofi are working together to try and fight off Karrion, and there's a beautiful sequence coming in from Jay and Kofi. Karrion ends up stopping Jay, but Kofi comes and jumps off the ring post. After the commercial break, Jay's in control. He attacks Karrion, and then Kofi hits a Trouble in Paradise. Karrion ends up putting Kofi into a submission move, and then we see a spear and a splash coming in from Jay Uso for him to qualify. So he ends up winning the match, and now he's going on to the next match to go up for the IC title. Gunther is in Berlin, and he cuts a video promo on Randy Orton, and Randy Orton has also arrived to the arena, and he makes his way out to cut a promo in front of the crowd. He starts to say how he has been listening to the voices in his head for a lot of his career, but he's really starting to listen to the crowd, and you guys are singing my song, and it means it means everything to me. It only took you guys 15 years, but it means so much to me. He says, I've won a lot of titles, but I loved the World Heavyweight Championship the most. I got the chance to unify those titles, and then I retired the World Heavyweight Championship. But last year, when I was recovering from spinal fusion surgery, a new World Heavyweight Championship was reborn, and I do everything in my power to make sure that my name is engraved on that title. This weekend at Bash in Berlin, I get to do that. A new legacy, a new title, and steps into enemy's territory, that being where Gunther is from. He says that Gunther is a living legend in Europe, and, I grew up in front of you guys, and I've learned from my mistakes, but Gunther hasn't been in that place yet. Gunther made this personal. He didn't need to, and I'm going to use the 3 most dangerous letters within all of sports entertainment to go ahead and put Gunther down, which is the RKO. And I loved this promo from Randy. You could really tell the passion was there. You could really tell how much that World Heavyweight Championship means to him. I mean, he is still the youngest ever World Heavyweight Champion. I do feel like he's not winning this weekend due to some nefarious means. But to say that I wouldn't love to see Randy Orton as a champion is an absolute lie. I really need Randy Orton as a champion ASAP. It's actually on my 2025 bingo card already. I know we're not even at the end of 2024, but it's on my bingo card. Pete Dunne is warming up backstage before his match, and then we end up seeing Alba Fyre and Isla Dawn cutting a promo on Bianca and Jade before their match at Bash in Berlin, talking about how they are going to go ahead and prove that Jade and Bianca are just frauds. And then we have the really interesting match between Braun and Bronson. I'm not lying when I say it's interesting, because it very much is. So this match starts off insanely physical. Braun hits a really nice drop kick onto Bronson, which I haven't seen him do before. He ends up taking the fight to Bronson, and then Bronson ends up exploding out of the corner, and he attacks Braun in the corner as well. Braun ends up chopping and hits a really nice crossbody. Bronson also hits a really nice crossbody, and he hits a suicide dive onto Braun outside of the ring, which is absolutely phenomenal. Braun ends up tossing Bronson across the ring. Bronson ends up trying to leave the arena, like he's just getting out, and he's like walking out of the match. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Braun ends up running after Bronson, and the 2 men go through Gorilla. There's a moment where Bronson is waiting backstage with a trash can and ends up throwing it at Braun when Braun makes himself visible. The match ends up making its way out to the parking lot. They are fighting off some security. Braun ends up choke slamming Bronson onto the hood of the car, and then Braun throws some scaffolding, and then Bronson just goes ahead and tsunamis Braun on top of the hood of a car, which was absolutely crazy. The way that the glass just shattered from either side of it as well. It was real glass, so you can cry me a river on that one. But I literally watched it and I was like, what the fuck? Holy fuck, what the fuck? I literally felt so bad for Braun. Then we go to a commercial break, but when we come back, Medical is checking up on Braun Strowman along with Adam Pearce. I really hope Braun's okay. Bronson, you gotta stop. Like, I know that you're trying to get yourself over and you're doing a really great job, but like, stop hurting innocent people. Like, it's just not fair. I was so excited for Braun Strowman, and now, like, I don't know when I'm gonna see him next. Finally have the second triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. So we have Xavier Woods, The Miz, and Pete Dunne in this match. This match was very quick as well too. It starts off very fast. Pete Dunne's trying to hit double joint manipulation. He's on fire during this match. Xavier works extremely quickly, but when we come back from the commercial break, Xavier is in control and The Miz ends up coming back into the match. Miz hits a really nice double DDT onto the 2, and we get the it kicks coming in from Miz. Xavier's power is on display, and towards the end of the match, there's a moment where Xavier ends up tackling Miz, and then we end up seeing Pete Dunne pull the ref out. He jumps in and takes advantage of the damage that has been caused to get the 3 count, so he's moving on to the Intercontinental Championship match as well too. Super excited for Pete Dunne. I'm absolutely thrilled. This guy just needs a title around his waist ASAP, and if we ever get to see Bron Breakker and Pete Dunne, I know it's going to be fantastic. Jackie Redmond, speaking of Bron Breakker, is catching up with him after this match and says great work by both of the guys who have qualified to get further. But you want to watch your mouth, Jay, because nobody in your family has ever beaten a family member of mine. And Pete, come on, like, you want to go ahead and try, but the worst is yet to come. And then American Made cut a response promo to Uncle Howdy's video earlier in the night. Terra Twins end up cutting a promo on Judgment Day, and then WWE remembers Sid Vicious. Unfortunately, I think Sid HOWDY is how you say his name. I could be wrong on that, but unfortunately he passed away earlier this afternoon or today at some stage. So WWE wanted to pay tribute to him. Again, my thoughts and prayers and condolences are with the family. It's always really sad to hear when something like this happens to a beloved figure within any industry. And I feel like WWE really did a great job recapping a lot of his career within the video footage if you didn't know anything about him as well too. So that was super nice that they did that. And we finally make our way to the main event, which is Uncle Howdy's debut match against Chad Gable. I was really looking forward to this. I wanted to see how Uncle Howdy was going to work in the ring, because obviously you can have all these great ideas about characters outside of the ring, but it has to translate to the ring. And I think they did a really great job at this. I firstly noticed that Uncle Howdy had a red streak in his hair, very much like a red dread. I honestly think that that's paying tribute to Bray. The fact that this match is happening a couple of days after the 1-year anniversary of Bray's death has to have some form of really strong meaning for Bo. It mustn't be easy to do that either, wrestling so close to the anniversary of your brother's passing. So, props to him for being able to go out there and put on a really great performance. I really enjoyed this match. It starts off with Uncle Howdy dancing with Chad in the middle of the ring. Then he hits a really nice, powerful clothesline, and then he ends up overpowering Chad. Chad ends up attacking Uncle Howdy and then hits a suplex. Followed up by a series of German suplexes by Chad Gable. Uncle Howdy turns the tide, and then Ivy comes in to try and distract. But then Chad ends up accidentally taking out the referee. Howdy hits the mandible claw, which, as you guys know, that is a move that was used by Bray Wyatt, also used by Mick Foley as well too. American Made come out and they start attacking Uncle Howdy, and then the lights go black and the rest of the Wyatt Six attack the rest of American Made. Howdy hits the Sister Abigail and secures the win, so Uncle Howdy won this match, and that was the right choice. I think putting Uncle Howdy on display like this, you definitely want to go ahead and show how strong he is, the mind games that he plays, and just what he's willing to do to win the match. I really enjoyed the match as well too. If you haven't had a chance to see it, I definitely think you should. Bo Dallas's moves within the ring definitely do translate in this match, and you can tell that he has not missed a beat since he was last wrestling for WWE. And sadly, that brings us to the end of this week's Monday Night Raw review. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure you go ahead and show some support on the video by liking the video, as well as commenting something that you enjoyed about Raw this week. Likes and engagement, like comments, they go ahead and push that video out into the algorithm, so make sure you go ahead and make yourself heard down there. While you're there as well too, you should absolutely, if you have not done so already, subscribe to the Outcasted OC channel, as well as turning on the bell icon. Those are your notifications, and if you do that, you will not miss any of our future posts. While you're there as well too, you should absolutely check out the description down below. You can find all of the links for Outcasted OC on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok, as well as where you can find us personally on social media for when we're not posting on the channel. As always, NXT review coming in from Reese this week, as well as the Bash in Berlin predictions. I'm very excited for that episode. That will be on Thursday, as well as the SmackDown review before Bash in Berlin will be coming on the Friday/Saturday morning as well too. So if you don't want to miss any of that stuff, make sure you've got that notification on and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Super excited for the content this week. I'm thrilled to be doing the podcast again with my gang. Honestly, it is so much fun, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear all my predictions. I'll see you guys in the podcast this week. Bye, guys.